Morning everybody, it's John Cook here, John Cook Harmonicas, and today we're going to look at repairing quite a poorly Hohner 64, a 16 hole. So what we've got here, a gentleman sent in a couple of harmonicas. This is the worst of the two, and it's obviously a 64 chromatica, quite old. What somebody's done in a previous life, this looks a very, very old repair, 30 odd years ago. Someone's tried to stick it together, but they've tried to stick it together, I think, without taking it apart, because it looks like the glue, or whatever the glue was just at the front there, and also at the back. It doesn't seem to have penetrated anything in the middle, so I don't think it was ever taken apart to fix the crack. I think he saw it cracked at the front, cracked at the back, and tried to fix it there. What's also happened as a consequence of that is the glue has glued the reed on. See that there, the glue right over the reed there. So we're going to get that off as well. All the wind savers are going to be falling off because they're probably very, very old, so that'll probably just fall off. Yeah, they're all going to come off. And the other thing he did, bless him, was to make himself a little slider knob. You can see that it doesn't work too well. It pushes in and cracks the wood. If you look at the comb as well, the other thing that we're going to do is the spring has cracked out the end here, so that's not good. So we've got to fix that as well. So he still wants to use all the parts. There would be a temptation to say scrap this and go and buy another one, but it is of sentimental value to him, so we are going to restore this for him and get it back working. So there it is. So I shall report back when we've done some more. Next thing to do is to clean up the areas where the wind savers were. So I just use a small X-Acto knife here. I just scrape. I'm doing this one-handed as I'm holding the camera, but we're just scraping off the old wind saver glue. So that's what we do there. We go all the way along, we clean all of those, and then we're ready for the ultrasonic tank. And this is them out of the ultrasonic cleaner after 5 minutes. So you can see that they've come up really, really nice. All the rubbish has come off of them now, and yeah, they're pretty clean. So that's the reed brakes pretty much done. I'm going to tune them up first. I might treat the rivets. See the rivets here, especially on the ends here. They're a bit rusty, so I might treat those as well. Tip there: you can paint over those with some nail varnish. Will stop that rust getting any worse. So be careful not to get it on the reeds themselves, but just on that tip you can do. That should stop the water going on there and rusting them any further. So that's the reed plates pretty much done, and we're now going to get onto the comb itself. Okay, so the next part of the restoration is the spring hole here. You can see that it's cracked out of the side of the casing, out of the comb. Obviously we need to keep the spring inside to stop the slide moving too far to the right hand side. So what I use here, just to reinforce that hole, is I've got some old feeler gauges. This is a 0.15, it's very, very flexible, very, very thin. And what I do is I cut the tip off. There, as I made it earlier. I cut the tip off and make a small little ring, if you like. It's like a flexible ring, and I can put that then inside the hole. It sort of compresses and goes in, and that will support the spring. And I can build the outside up with some filler. So let me just show you how I do that. I can't do that one-handed, I'm afraid. So what I've done here is I've compressed the ring and inserted it into the slot. So you can see there that piece of metal can't be too thick because the spring's not going to be in the right position. but that metal ring there will support the edge of the spring. So the next thing to do is to just to fill up this area here that's cracked out, and that spring hole then should be good and supported. So let me go and build that up. So to fix the broken comb, I use my old jig. I'm sure there's a video somewhere that shows you how I fix this. So this is just my jig that holds the comb together, and so I can glue that together. So I'm not going to do a detailed video of that because I've got other videos that show that. So there we are, just putting the comb back together. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I've got the insert in there, the metal insert, to protect the spring from breaking out. What I've got to do now is this is a piece of pearwood. I've got strips of pearwood, and I use this for repairing combs. So it's the right wood for what the comb was made out of. And what I do is I'll make a little piece here that's the right size and shape, a bit bigger, and I'll make like a little peg, like a tooth peg, and that's going to go in there, and then I'm going to dress it off. I'll glue that in there, and then I'll dress that off, and that should make the end as good as new. So okay, so now we've put the little tab at the end there, and we're going to let that dry. One thing that I can do is to treat the comb. What I'm going to do on this model, I use this stuff. This is called Malan's acrylic lacquer satin, and the thing about this stuff, one is it's great for treating combs, but it's food safe. Can you see on the side there it says acrylic toys, that's for kids to eat their toys, and food safe. So this is very, very good stuff. Can't remember how long I've had it, but I haven't used much, so it goes a long way. I don't tend to put a ton of this stuff on, but it does treat the comb. Now, one thing that I'm going to be doing now is to say that once you've painted the acrylic lacquer on, especially on chromatic combs of a long length, like a 16 hole, the absorption rate of this surface area compared to the back will quickly warp it. Now, if you can see down here, you can see that the actual comb is really warped. Just as I've put it on, you can see it rocking here. This is why it's very, 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 very critical, this next stage. One thing that I do, it's still wet, and I put it in my rack here, and I put a plate across there, and I clamp it. You can see here I clamp the whole thing together. Now this is very, very important to do. You can see that it flexes there, good enough for me to clamp it together, and I let it set while it's clamped together. Then it reduces the amount of warpage along that line. So this is a critical stage. If you're going to be treating your pearwood combs, especially the older ones that are really, really dry, you're going to have to support them, otherwise they're going to warp terribly and they're going to be useless, and you're going to be throwing them away. So as soon as you've applied the lacquer, you need to clamp it together so that when it dries straight. So that's what I do. So this is another use for my jig. This is my 16 hole clamping jig, which I also use to join all the parts that are busted up. So please use a jig. Don't just paint your comb and expect it to remain straight, because it will bow like a banana if you don't let it dry in a jig like this. So that's what I use, Malan's acrylic lacquer, food safe lacquer, and when it's painted on here, please let it dry in the jig. That's it.